I was going to tell you, we don't really have anything on that today. Just, again, I've been thinking about the 9-year-old testing positive for coke a lot. Now, I don't think it's a false positive. The more I look at, the more I look into hair follicle testing and stuff, it's legit. It's just a matter of how, and I don't know enough about cocaine, ironically. I don't know enough about testing and the results to know if that hair follicle test, they say it's indicative of, what do you call it, daily or weekend use. I don't know if that means they found a sample that was consistent with regular usage, or the size, like the amount they tested for is what people who use it daily or weekend, like, did they get one dose and it was indicative of that much? Or is it the way the test came back, it showed that the kid was getting into cocaine regularly? If the test can somehow show that they were doing it on multiple days, which I don't know if it can, then I got to think about the possibility that somebody was dosing this fucking child and like trying to medicate this child using a terrible substance, which is awful to think about. But then this crossed my mind. When I was there, it seemed like there was a crisis or disaster or giant drama every 4 or 5 days. Somebody was fighting over something. There was some big fucking deal. People were crying. There was drama. There was yelling. Everybody was this. Everybody was that. Everybody's talking behind everybody's backs. Everybody's shitting on it. It was a fucking nightmare. And like the odd thing about it is, for months we were living crisis to crisis, disaster to disaster, drama to drama. It, honest to Christ, was like being back in high school, hypercharged. Like all the immature, traumatic parts of high school hypercharged. And honestly, going back to my real life, going back to my regular life, that's been I've learned kind of subconsciously through therapy and Al-Anon and all this stuff that getting back to life where I don't have that drama shit is almost like a drug. Like the fact that I don't have it feels weird. It's good. It's a happy feeling. It's a good feeling. But now as I watch this case unfold and I watch the news come out about this stuff, I realize over there in that world, they're still living crisis to crisis. They're still living drama to drama. They're still living disaster to disaster. Nothing changed since I left. If anything, everything got ramped up since I left, because I'm hearing so many things about this that I never saw. I'm hearing so many things about this that I never experienced personally while I was there. And, it just means one thing. When old buzzkill guys, maybe the drugs thing is a bad look, guy left, they tore off the mask and it was game on. Because like I'm hearing about shit that I never in a million years thought would be a thing. Especially a child. And it's like, to test that positive, it doesn't mean there's cocaine floating around the house. There's this nebulous cloud of coke and the kids are walking through it. Then all 5 of them would have tested positive. So there's some way it's available where a kid can walk in and just get it. Or, again, maybe someone's trying to use it medicinally on a 9-year-old, which would be crazy. And then I would agree with Nick Rekieta. Give him the whole 25. Now, if they can find out that this kid was being dosed with cocaine, like if CPS talks to this kid and they're like, yeah, it was my medicine, then A, that's horrific. And B, I think they can upgrade that child negligence charge or the child neglect charge. Somebody was saying something yesterday about, there's a felony version of what they're charged with that could be added. And rest assured, like in cases like this, sometimes they're not done charging people. Sometimes they still could charge people. I mean, hell, theoretically, I would guess they could charge me if they wanted to. They could charge Nick and Kayla with something extra. They could charge April with something. A lot of you think about it, a lot of the reason they might have dropped charges against April is because they want to shore up the case and then bring them back. But if you indict them and they go before the judge and they face these charges, harder to drop them once you bring them forward. So if they arrest her on suspicion of these charges, but they don't get her before a judge and they cut her loose, they can keep an eye on her. They can always bring these charges back later. So all of this is very interesting. And as we learn more and more, and as I was thinking about this yesterday, Nick has pulled off the legal hat trick. Nick has pulled off, he has a civil case with Monograph, a criminal case with the search warrant, and a CPS case with his children at the same time. Nick has 3 different cases in 3 different forms of the court system at the same time. Crazy. I also, as a father, don't get what he's doing. You have had multiple chances to get on the road to get your children back, and you've chosen yourself every time. I thought about it yesterday, and I came to the conclusion that I think this is, in my opinion, I think this is cocaine-induced brain damage. I think doing the ketamine and doing the cocaine and the drinking have damaged his brain to the point where he can no longer make proper decisions. And maybe he shouldn't be making decisions for himself anymore. I mean, if that lawyer cannot get a hold of that guy and say, turn off an internet, I don't know how you're going to have a case, because I'm thinking if you're Nick's lawyer and you call the county and you go, let's talk about a deal, right now they're going to go, ha, 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 a deal. Yeah, no thanks. Because, I mean, they got him. And he's lashing out and he's yelling at witnesses on the internet and he's calling them liars and he's calling out government workers and he's calling them liars. And it's just, it's so far diametrically opposed to helpful that it couldn't be any more the opposite behavior. But every fork in the road that he and Kayla have had to get their kids back, they've chosen their own case. Like, you can release the hair follicle test. They'll come back positive, more than likely. And then when they come back positive, you'll have more work to do to get your kids back. But then you can start testing. You can show you're not on drugs. You can show you're not drinking. You can get your house cleaned up, literally and figuratively. And then within the next year, you can get your kids back. But if you keep fighting and you're out on bail and you got your $50,000 bond posted and you can't be tested for drugs, you can't get your kids back. You know, if you keep acting erratically on the internet, you can't get your kids back. So, and after 15 months of your kids being in the system, it becomes permanent. So you got to stop choosing yourself and you got to start choosing your kids, or there's always an or, nobody has to do anything, or you could just be a shitty parent. And if you're just being a shitty parent, then you have to be willing to face those slings and arrows and those judgments, because people can only judge by what they see. And there is a mountain of evidence showing that you're a garbage person. But when you're a narcissist and an addict, the world looks different to you than it does normal people. And them seeing you as a bad guy, you blame them, you lash out, you try to brainwash them. And when that doesn't work, you just go on the internet, yell, fuck you. Get up. The Robin Williams joke, I still can't even repeat. It's so fucking terrible and nonsensical. But you lash out at people and you go, but my government, it's conspiracy. And this person's a liar and that person's a liar. And it's like, Nick never learned that phrase I taught him, which was, if you go out and you meet an asshole, you met an asshole. If you go out and everybody you meet's an asshole, you're an asshole. Does Nick not stop to wonder why this list of people he has to yell fuck you at is getting longer and longer and longer? All these people are betraying me. Well, why are they betraying you? Why do all these people who once thought you were a good guy now don't like you the more they learn about you? Could it be the things about you? Until you're ready to look at that as a possibility, nothing's ever going to improve.